to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Good morning, Devo. Good morning, Jermaine. How's everybody?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good. How was your weekend?
Absolutely fabulous, man. Mom celebrated her birthday on yesterday, so
Happy birthday.
anytime you can celebrate with your mother, I'm blessed.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Well, for me, man, it was an incredible weekend. Like I said earlier, this is the year anniversary of my cousin Jeffrey Rideout's death. He passed away last year on this day, but also it's a celebration of life on this end and 100% cancer free. Man, this was a year. It was a year ago this day that I had surgery, life changing surgery. So I'm grateful for that, man. So yeah, man, that was a great weekend, and man, I'm celebrating, man.
Oh, good to hear.
Yeah, man.
How was your
Millions didn't
weekend,
make
Keith?
it, man.
What'd you do?
Well, I didn't go to jail.
Was the potential there for you?
Potential's
Always a
always there.
potential.
For a black man in the city of Milwaukee,
Huh?
just being a black man in the city.
Just always there.
Oh, okay. He's trying not to say something.
Hey, man. Yeah.
But we did great yesterday. I was telling my wife last night, surprise, just how I like to be in control
Wow.
and don't make it always seem like I like to, I give this, but I'd like to be in control, if I can control it. And that's human beings. Human beings love to be able to believe that we can control things, control our space. Sometimes we find out that we don't have a lot of control. But yesterday we had 25 kids there yesterday, teenagers and young people. They were getting their Easter speeches,
Oh, nice.
and but I had to bring the morning message. The second Sunday is usually children's church,
Yeah, I was going to ask you how that.
and so I had to. But and I told the story yesterday in service. When I was a kid, I will let the place remain nameless. But it was a rather prosperous space, and when we had vacation Bible school at this particular space, all we ever got was graham crackers and milk.
Mm.
Now, at Mount Olive, we got sloppy joes,
Oh.
we got hot dogs, we got hamburgers, we got chicken. This is vacation Bible school.
Oh.
So I made up my mind, and maybe I did it then, but then I never would have known that I would have that opportunity. That anytime we do anything with kids, they're always going to eat well.
Yeah.
They're not just going to eat;
Yeah.
they're going to eat well.
Yeah.
So for children's church, normally we have cousin subs,
Mm.
which goes over very well.
Yeah.
We kind of changed up this year, though. We did cousins. I don't know if we did anything in January. I know in February, but in February we did pizza. We went to Papa Murphy's and just popped the pizzas in the oven. And as I said on the program, I learned for kids, cheese, pepperoni.
Oh, yeah.
All that other stuff, don't even waste your
Yeah.
money putting
Yeah,
it
they
on the
don't even
pizza.
want it.
They picking it off. So learn from that. So next time they have pizza, just be pepperoni and
Yeah.
cheese. And then, so yesterday, I made Sloppy Joe sliders
Nice.
for the babies.
Nice.
And, the way you do it is you put together the slider, then you it needs to cook for 15 minutes at 375.
Mm.
And so that way you can melt the cheese, kind of toast the bun a little bit.
Mm.
And
Man, you making me hungry up in here.
it was so crazy, though, man. I could half focus on my message because I wanted to make sure that whoever was downstairs
You did it right.
did it right.
Yeah.
So
I can see you in the pulpit now. And the Lord said,
go down there and check on that service. So normally the kids are finished before we're finished with service upstairs, and so they came up. So man, I'm running them down.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't ask them if they learned anything.
Uh,
How's Sloppy Joe's?
how did you guys like it?
How's Sloppy Joe's? And there's you have one beautiful young lady, Heavenly. She just she never talks.
Yeah.
I can never get her to talk. Right? She mumbles everything. Yeah, that's the angst of being a teenager.
Yeah.
And so I asked her, and she gave me this
thumbs up.
Now, I don't know how much of them being nice.
Yeah.
Don't want to hurt the old guy's feelings.
Yeah.
But instead of saying, would you get your speeches like, now, how was the Sloppy Joe's?
So I got a question for you, Keith. 2 questions. One, do you put sugar in your Sloppy Joe? And the other one,
No.
Is there a difference between Sloppy Joe and Manwich?
No. Actually, Manwich is actually a pretty good base.
Yeah.
Pretty good base for Sloppy Joe's.
But there's no.
Usually the recipe
difference?
for if you make your own sauces like ketchup, Worcestershire sauce,
Yeah.
sugar, some other things that you put in.
Yeah.
But I'll use Manwich. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, man, I love Manwich, man.
It's not bad at all. So anyway, now I don't know if they learned anything. Yesterday was Palm Sunday and the triumphant entry of Jesus into Jerusalem and our Passion Week. But hey, how were the Sloppy Joes? So it was good to see those kids. I think we paid lip service to it. We'll say that the kids. What is the song? I believe the children are our future. Let them lead the way. So anyway, but the reality is, man, in a lot of ways, kids are just collateral damage to poor adult decisions.
Oh yeah.
And so we missed that, and then we got the nerve then to be mad at them for being kids. So again, I wish now if this group continues to come in this composition, we actually have a real good problem now, because we can actually do something where it's more related to the youth. And when I mean by youth, those kids, 11 or 12 and older, and then doing something for the wee bitties under that, and be able to separate that. And so let me first of all, let me thank my pastor, Russell Bennett Williamson, for having trust in me and Rhonda. Now people go, at your age, hey man, I'm gonna tell you, children's church is fun. Now you need to make adjustments for the energy level that you're gonna get. But no, I think they're fun. It's and then you get a sense of maybe understanding. It's like a lot of us, if we've asked a question before when we've done our people's poll and asked, what was the best decade for music?
Oh yeah.
What was the best decade for music?
Well, for me, I want to say the 80s and the 90s. I want to say the 80s and 90s. Yeah.
Obviously, a period we were in.
Yeah.
Usually,
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
based on how our demographics kind of skew towards the older, I usually get the 70s.
Yeah.
Man, it was 70s.
70s was
70s was just and then I go, well, the 80s wasn't bad.
Yeah.
The 90s wasn't bad. I think so. For me, just being able to, I try to just listen, because what happens is sometimes as we get older, we begin to shut it down. Thinking that, hey, the 60s was the greatest. Well, if we look at historically, when we look at the 60s, it was pretty tumultuous. So I always, I listen to folks, and then you go like, wow, this dude is good.
See, but what really get me is when I hear young people talk and they say old school music. And for me, when you say old school, you think 60s and 70s. They talking about 90s and early 2000s.
Right.
What?
It's like my godson was talking one day. He go like, back in the day, I'm going Negro, 2 weeks ago? What you mean back in the day? Yesterday. What? But no, I think that it is. And then when you, because again, I love music. Yeah. So, when you take it in and you listen and you go, now look, everything, there's nothing new under the sun. Right. We will borrow from, because look, you're influenced by who you influenced by. So as a musician, when you were young with Stevie Wonder, it could be Donny Hathaway. I mean, it could be all these folks that you would, and then you go, and and I used to say this to Homer. I said, for me, I always start off with how good the song is.
Oh yeah.
Because if it's a good song, it will stand the test of time.
Yeah, that's true.
Now I'm thinking Valdez in the Country was probably done in the early 70s.
Yeah, and here he is, 40-some years.
Yeah, and we run it here, and you can see people like when
Yeah.
they're waiting to come on and they hear it.
Yeah.
So like a timeless piece of music is one of the things I do if I'm ever allowed to do benediction at your church is that I go old school. I hate to say old school, but I do God Be With You.
Yes, sir, Doc. I love that one.
And it's
Until
amazing.
we meet again.
Right. You know how people just that
Yeah.
resonates. I mean, it is old school.
You see what it just did to me when you just brought it in?
I was over at my buddy's church over at historic Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, where the Reverend Victor Mans is the pastor and my twin. And I was over covering for him one Sunday. And so I had the musician. I was going like, dude, now the church, they knew it.
But the musician didn't know?
Yeah, because it's
was
not
young.
That's not how they, you end service.
Yeah.
And I love the song because benediction is your final blessing.
Yes, sir.
It's a blessing. And so when we sing, when I have people sing God Be With You, I say sing it to somebody.
Yeah.
Because that's the wish that when we leave here
until we meet again.
And so but yeah, that I kind of get a little old school on in terms of man, it's just like we got a whole lot of ways that we end. And look, I got how we do praise and worship and all these different things when it comes to worship service. And my whole thing is as long as it's good. Like I have not been for a long time in a tradition where I've seen services from Abyssinian where they do classic spiritual music where they're doing hymns from what do you call it, your music sheet where they're actually
from the book,
right, choral, so there's a part of that. There's also, I was watching who's this brother, man, he's good, God, again, he's out of Detroit. I can't think of this brother's name, but I was watching his group, and the young people, they're moving, and they're older people. Why are they moving like that?
Yeah, like you didn't move like that when you were young.
And here it is. You can't,
and that's the problem.
They can't.
Yeah.
Now the only thing I say is that in all your choreography, understand that your first responsibility is your choral responsibility, i.e. hitting your note and hitting it correctly. Now, you do all those moves, but when you pop back on that mic, that's the thing I loved about the Temptations. They spin away, split, come back, but when they come up on that 5 mic stand, all of them, they right back on the note.
You know what? And when I was playing for the state youth choir when we was younger, we had that whole element of, the choir was rocking and, we was singing, but it was a lot of older folks that was like, y'all doing the whirly dance and that's whirly. And to me, it just never really sat right to me because I'm like, well, first of all, there was whirly.
Well, I think, the person who really pushes it is Kurt Franklin.
Oh, now Kurt is a thin line.
He'd be twerking.
He'd be twerking and popping and pelvic thrusting.
I mean, it'd be like, dude,
Now moving like that compared to rocking and you doing that and you into it, and they used to call that whirly dance. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. So you can't enjoy Jesus and
not like that.
Now I ain't saying pelvic thrust and
I don't see no Jesus.
Right, I don't see no Jesus and pelvic thrust in the air, but
I know that's a Teddy move. That's a Jesus,
more like a Smokey.
Right, a Smokey to dance. Smokey to dance.
Well, now at his older age, he getting this.
Never did a lot of moving. They was just like the Four Tops.
The swag,
right. The Four Tops was just had that little swag. Now the Temptations, they put some work in.
Otis,
they put some work in.
Yeah.
Those brothers you could bring up Otis. They put some work in, man. And I got a chance to see him last year, and I'm gonna tell you, Otis didn't miss a step. Now I'm sure they slowed it down, but he was. But no, man, I got this thing about if you're gonna do choreography, make sure though you remember that you are a singing group.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, let me shout out the good folks there at the New Pitts Mortuary. Good morning, Brother Nate Luckett. Good morning. Hopefully you're driving it.
Yeah, he's
Deacon
all right.
Michael Jones. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good folks there at the New Pitts
Man,
Mortuary.
we gotta get some music to when they roll by, man.
Yeah,
Just
we
to-
got maybe find a Lucky Brothers song
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
do.
Said it was. Said it. Nate, I love you, man. I know you listening, man. I love you, man.
I was listening to this group yesterday. It's the Mickens. Oh, they were good. Look, let me tell you something, man. And again, I'm a choir guy.
Yeah.
You know, I come, you know, that I'm from the choir. I have such mad respect for quartets because
you got to hit them notes.
They
and
hit
it's
the
for
notes
y'all.
and hit them the same way.
Yeah, every time.
And everybody go get
Yeah.
you don't know how hard that is.
Doc, listen. And this is what I was telling people with quartet singing. Back in the day, there was no computer tricks. There was none of that. So all of those notes that you're hearing, all of them high pitches and them high range, is them actually singing those notes and hitting them right every time. Hitting those notes and not missing those notes. Now, you have to be trained. You have to be skilled in that, because to do that night in and night out, to go in and hit that with no auto tune, no nothing, your pitch is right, your harmony is right, and on the scale, the music scale for the tuner, your tuning is 440. So 440 is perfect tune. And to sing at 440 without any assistance is incredibly hard. Because some people will be sharp, which would be 442 or 443, or flat and be under the 440.
How much of that is because people are not really listening?
A whole lot of that.
You know, that, you know, like if we do a 3-part harmony,
Yeah.
I still got to be kind of aware what sopranos are doing,
Exactly.
what altos are doing.
So
and
you
then
can do
get
your
a
part.
blend.
Yeah.
You know how you do a blend.
Yep.
Now there's some folks, man, it's like, you know, you're not the only one in the group, right?
Oh man, Otis
wasn't a singer though.
Well, actually, Otis was. It was just he was almost like Bobby Brown. You know, Bobby Brown wanted the front man, and him being able to sing, because he can sing and harmonize, but he was more stronger on the leader end than background. So when you have people like that, man, they want the spotlight. They want
started talking about Bobby Brown.
Yeah, don't be cruel.
Don't be talking about, what was he, the king of
R&B, until R. Kelly came. R. Kelly took that hands down from him. R. Kelly took that.
I've never seen like a tape of R. Kelly performing.
Oh my God! Whenever you get a chance, YouTube some of his concerts and just watch it. Incredible artist, man. His show, how he put it together.
Oh, he's an incredible musician.
Incredible, man. And it's like, yeah, I don't agree with some of the stuff that he's done. But to be honest with you, I'm gonna be honest. If a lot of this stuff was exposed with some of these cats around here locally, they'll be in the same position.
I said yesterday at service that, you know, how your friends will abandon you. Talking about Jesus, you know, people get away from you in a minute, right? Yeah. You can't find one person.
Come on, man.
Who's been at a Diddy party.
Come on.
You find anybody that's been at a Diddy party?
It's like everybody like, hey, man, I wasn't there.
I wasn't there. I was going like,
out of all them people,
all those folks,
the
parties were legendary.
Come on, man.
You know, you can't find one now.
But it's all gonna come out when they reveal them.
Let's hope not.
And that's why his lawyers is trying to keep it.
I just think, and this is the libertarian in me, what adults do in private is their business.
I get it.
Now I know we got some federal charges going on.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but it's like, and that's the other thing that we as people, we love, not we, because that's a universal. Yeah. There's some among us who love to see when people have a fall.
Of course. They prey on the downfall.
Oh man. I mean, talking about kick you when you down.
Yeah.
All right, phone lines open. It's Monday. Just free for Monday,
It's a Monday.
414-444-5250, 444-444-5250. If you're at the Diddy party, love to hear from you. We're going to take a quick break.
Bring your
We'll be right
lotion. Bring your lotion.
back. They want oil.
Oh, baby oil. Oh, there's a difference between a lotion and oil. Yeah. Well, I mean, as you know,
If
I
you would
wasn't
have been
there.
at the party,
Yeah,
you
if I'd
would
have been at the
known
party, I would have known.
You know
Yeah.
the difference. Yeah. You listen to
Guess that excludes me.
Be right back.
You're inside Community Voice on WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM with your host, Keith Parris.
Welcome back, and we're just having this fascinating conversation about the Electoral College. I think I got it right. And why it's in place. There's some people say that we should get rid of it. Part of why it's even in existence had everything to do with enslavement. This is why I find it real interesting. People are pushing back on the 1619 project because it, as Kenya Barris said, it always gets back to slavery. You know, I mean, based on that 3/5 of a person was this compromise put into place so that if you just went on the population of a state, the southern states would have a numerical advantage because of enslaved Africans. So what you do is you make enslaved Africans in terms of how the Constitution viewed them, and certainly when it came to putting together the Electoral College, is that then they were 3/5 of a person. Now a lot of people have taken that 3/5 and we run with it on a lot of different things. I'm just looking at purely its root. It comes from the compromise they made in order to ratify the Constitution. That was rectified, and I'm just thinking that it was 3/5 of a person when it came to enslaved individuals. I don't think that applied to freedmen or free men and women, but certainly for that. And again, it was, and we're still dealing with it now. It's amazing that, and I don't know how to say this in such a way that it doesn't sound wrong, but you know, Donald Trump has never beat another white male.
Yeah.
He's beaten a white female,
Yeah.
and he's beaten a black female. Both of them very close races when it came to the popular vote. I think he only won by 1 million votes this time. When he beat Hillary Clinton, maybe it was 2 to 3 million votes. He lost to Joe Biden by 7 million votes. It's and for him, one, there's not a mandate, because even though he did dominate in the Electoral College, when you look at the actual popular vote, you'll find out that it wasn't close. It was very close, and it says a lot. It says a lot though about our attitude. When Fox wants to avoid any real news, like what was going on and the impact of tariffs, they'll go after Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
And, they go after Joe Biden, saying that how they had hidden Joe Biden's medical condition. And that's probably true. That's probably true. But they hit a whole lot about Donald Trump's health, too.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This dude just said that he just took a test and got every question right. Stop it, man. Stop it. Like, stop it, bro. Saying that he is one of the healthiest presidents we've ever had in history. No one has ever seen anything like it.
No one's ever seen anything like this.
Like, man, what?
Right, because it ain't true.
Right.
That's why we've never seen it, because it's just not true. I mean, it is. And then to hear him just talk about this whole transitional pain, and dude, you have just upset now look, I gave him a term yesterday, the status quo. I talk a lot about it on the air, but the status quo. And I just don't believe that if America was really being taken advantage of, that we would just sit and take it. It seems to me that we are at a significant advantage when it comes to the economy and when it comes to the military in the world. So this idea that, and look, you're hearing people talk about, oh, they're going to put, and then they throw these numbers around that I was just reading, just fact checking the Washington Post, which does, I'm surprised they would get this out with Jeff Bezos, but did a fact check, either the Washington Post or New York Times, on the claims that he makes. Everything he says is a lie.
Yeah.
It's a fabrication. It is inflating numbers. I mean, it's all these things. It's kind of like, dude, did you? Because if you actually looked at the numbers, you would find out that maybe putting these tariffs on wasn't such a good idea. And because at some point, and we're going to begin to feel it, man. Now, what I don't understand is, because I had to listen ad nauseum to all of the ads during the presidential election, part of it was you're going to bring prices down on day one.
Yeah. What happened in that?
Not day two, not day three, on day one. Now, exactly. Now, for those of us who know better, and that's probably a significant number of the American population, we're going like, no, no, we that dog ain't gonna hunt. But his true believers, they declared, this is something that, pay attention, y'all.
Man.
You don't always pay attention.
Man.
And I'm forced to pay attention when I don't want to.
Yeah.
They have gone in and declared people dead. There's a 90-year-old man that they declared dead for Social Security, right? But they've also gone in and taken immigrants and declared them dead for Social Security.
What?
These people are alive and kicking.
And well.
And so when people are kind of sitting up there saying, well, it ain't going to impact me until they declare you dead. And then everything you're going to have to do to go in and prove that you're not dead. So we should be, if we're not, we should be alarmed. Now, some of us were alarmed prior to the election. And the election results didn't give us anything to allay our concern. As a matter of fact, based on what we've seen in the first 80 days, we haven't got to 100 days yet, is like one. I don't understand how we give white males passes.
That part, man.
That part. When you look at his cabinet, it is predominated by white males. There are some females. There's one black dude in the cabinet.
He probably ain't even black.
And one of the reasons why, no, this brother black. He's from Texas. Yeah, he black.
That's a zip up suit.
Yeah, but and I think one of the reasons why he got rid of CQ Brown was because he wasn't going to take advice or counsel from a black man. That's what it really comes down to. He wasn't the reason why he dismissed these women.
Them under him.
Right. Well, he don't want them in the room. Period. Because he just his white superiority could just not fathom the idea that there is a black man and or black person who can give him advice. First of all, he's the smartest guy in the world. Okay, let's start there. And then we go on to no, I'm not. And so it was obvious to me, maybe not to others. The where you go in and you do this erasing of history, and then you go in and you begin to marginalize people. So when I hear people calling in and they're supportive of the deportation policy, I would tongue in cheek, if anybody's ever visited the Caribbean, you will notice that the people look like many of us. So if you go to the DR, the Dominican Republic, if you go to Puerto Rico, certainly if you go to Jamaica, the Bahamas, they look like us.
Yeah.
And so what's stopping someone from going after Debo? Debo don't have any ID on him. He gets caught up in a raid. They take him in. Debo got to prove that he's an American citizen. Now, a lot of people think that that's okay. That's cool, because it ain't us.
But can Debo use that he know Keith Parris?
Oh, they'll put him under the jail in El Salvador if he dropped that name. Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, look, let me turn this radio down.
What you in here for, knowing Keith?
How y'all guys doing this morning?
All right.
Well, Keith, this is why you always get on me, man. And I guess I'm going to just play this until y'all put me up under the dirt. And this is why I don't understand guys like Will Martin, Beach, Orlando, Dr. Ken, these brothers that follow behind this dude. You know, you just said it, Keith, and I just text you, white dumb males. And it's just like, you know, I always ask myself, I just ask myself, what have we done as black people in this country that they hate us so much? We didn't have to be brought over here. We was minding our business. And so we made America. I mean, if you really want to tell the truth, we made America what America is. And they should be thanking us for what we've done for this country, inventions and everything else. That building that they're in over there, our ancestors built that building. So, you know, for these, what does Craig say, these insecure white males walking around here thinking that they deserve everything, that they can't share, it's just beyond me, Keith. And I don't understand it, never will. You just said Hillary Clinton. What was that dinner he was just at? We had on the black tie and all that kind of. What was that? He was just
National Republican Congressional piece.
So they were talking about Joe Biden's mental abilities. Keith, you cannot tell me it is something not wrong with that man. There is something mentally. Now he said he passed all those tests.
Right. Yeah. He said no one has ever seen anything like it. He passed all his cognitive tests, all of his tests. He got all the answers right.
So I'm gonna ask you and Keith, and I don't know if Devo's in there. The last time y'all been to a doctor, but they'll ask you a series of questions and they'll start taking your blood temperature and all this kind of stuff. Maybe about 15, 20 minutes, they'll come back to you and ask you those same questions. Do you ever get them all right?
Man, I ain't never got all my questions right.
Okay, so you think he did? Come on.
Of course not, man. Of course not.
Look, can we just do some basic science here? As we get older, our brain capacity begins to diminish. That's just a process of aging. You know, so it you know, what is he, 80 now? Is he 80? There's just certain things that 80-year-olds, you know, there's going to be a decline. And so let's just say just the normal person. Now, of course, we're talking about Donald Trump, so he's not the normal person. But yeah, I mean, it happens. Now, I don't know if people around Joe Biden, those folks are concerned about their proximity to power. I don't know what the benefit would have been to have exposed saying that, hey, here he is. But obviously he's an 80-plus-year-old man. And so there's going to be some diminishing of one's mental ability. But I would take Joe Biden any day over Donald Trump.
Of course we would.
Any day. Somebody said that they would vote for Joe Biden if he was in a coma, as opposed to ever having to vote for Donald Trump. So
Keith, that's what kind of really made me mad when. Now, am I glad that they ran Kamala Harris? Yeah, but I still think, like you said, Keith, even in his mental capacity, he was still way better than Donald Trump. But we got scared.
Well, and I think the other thing was his ego. His ego being Biden's ego. Now, I don't know over and beyond, because all we got was Kamala Harris. I don't know what the Dems bench looked like had they had a primary. Let's say Joe Biden decided that he wasn't going to run again. I don't know what that would have looked like if they would have had a primary, who would have emerged from that. I don't know if Kamala Harris would have emerged from that primary.
On the side of the bucket.
I'm sorry?
I was talking to Brendan. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, so I think, you know, and now that we're hearing that, it's not surprising because this happens in every campaign where there were people working behind the scenes, wasn't as supportive. One of the names you're hearing is Barack Obama. That wasn't that supportive of her. He wanted to have a mini primary. I don't know if, and again, even with Kamala Harris, and all the disadvantages that she had, it was still a very close race. But there were some other factors.
You said something to me earlier when I said we should have ran her earlier. And something hit home to me. And I remember I always say we like to be right. But I think you're right, Keith. Even if they would have started her from the beginning, I don't still think she still would have won because because of being a woman and a black woman.
Yep. I mean, the data just shows that. I mean, that
Even though she was way more qualified.
Right. And this guy has run against two far more qualified women than him, or two qualified candidates than him, just happen to be women. And he was able to win because, look, there's still a certain level of misogynism when it comes to how people view women, sometimes even how women view women. And so it's been an incredible streak that, you know, other than Barack Obama, every president we've had has been a white male.
Well, we can say as black folks in America, we did our part. Now, maybe us men maybe fell off a little bit, but we can say that we, as blacks, we did what we were supposed to do.
Let me say this, and I got this bit of epiphany, revelation. First of all, black people and even Latino people don't elect in many instances, certainly on a national level. You know, we're 13 and 14% of the population, respectively. So you come together, that would put us at about a quarter of the population. It is white folks who determine who wins an election. Now, you could have, like, we do find that in what they call margin elections, Wisconsin was a margin state. It's a purple state. We saw it was a margin election in Michigan where there were probably people who were from the Middle East who had an issue with Joe Biden and his approach to Israel and Gaza. And so they're very angry about it. So either they decided to vote for Trump or they decided they wouldn't vote for president at all. That became maybe the margin of victory there in Michigan. But for the most part, like, black people didn't elect Barack Obama. White people did. White people are still the super majority in this country.
But we still help out, Keith. That's the point.
Well, I know we do, but then it's like if black people don't show up to vote, that's why we lost. No, there was a whole lot of white people who didn't show up to vote. Or what we found out in the elections that Trump has won, that there were voters who normally would not vote who showed up to vote, not accounted for, right? Those Rogan bros, you know, just enough of them showed up to vote. Right. So but making me feel guilty when I know that we get out and for the most part and we vote. And then when we found out in November, we exceeded expectations in terms of the black community and voting.
You know how much you and Right Out of Debo enjoy good singing. I went this weekend on Saturday, and me and Brenda, we went to this Keith. My goodness, Keith. I've never been to an a cappella thing like that before, man. I was telling one of my people that I go to church with, man, she's a part of that. Keep, man, it brought tears to my eyes, man, to see those young black kids up there, young black youth up there singing like that, man.
Yeah, nothing like Acapulco.
Keith, they brought the house down, Keith. Yeah. I'm telling you, man. I looked at Rockstar. I said, I know Keith liked this kind of stuff, so I looked around to see if you were there, but you weren't there.
No, we wrote a check.
Yeah, but Keith, man, I was so impressed, man, and
those colleges. Now, you remember, many of those people are vocal and music majors, so you know, just the level of voices there, they're trained, and it is. So when you hear, anytime you hear a college choir, whether it's a college gospel choir or the choral. You know, it is. These are musicians. Some of them are going to go on to become music teachers. So you're getting, and then they're young voices. You know, those young vocal cords. What you can do with young vocal cords is just amazing.
Man, it was amazing, man.
Did they do any music? Any instruments?
No.
Okay.
No. Just all voices. You know, except for that little thing you blow in the beginning, a little thing, but that was it. They keep, man. Oh no, I'm sorry. The choir director. I'm sorry. On some of them, he did play. I think he did the piano when they were doing solos.
Right.
Because I think about 3 or 4 people did solos.
Right. Okay.
But other than that, yeah. All right. Hey man, thanks for letting me get my little piece in.
All right. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How you?
Hey, I'm fine. Y'all having a good show this morning. Um, that was George that called in and wondered why white people are like they are towards us. But you had a guy back in the day named Matthew Stelly. He answered that question, and I think it was around 1984, 85. And the reason that they have so much hatred towards us, and when they look at us, they can't stand us, we're despicable, is because we remind them of what they've done. You see, they want to get to this. Right now, they're using Project 2025 to get to this Disney world of their history, where they eliminate us total, and they've done all these wonderful things, and they never did anything wrong. That's where they're trying to get. But every time they see one of us, they're like, shh, there's a reminder. We didn't really do this. And under that anger, under fear rather, is that anger. The fear that if they have to acknowledge the true history and the guilt that comes with it, man, some people's head would explode. Some of them white people, their heads would explode. After when you look at what all they've been taught, especially these white supremacists, man, that's why they're so angry. They know they're wrong, but they can't help themselves. They got to still go down this path. Everybody said, I really shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Well, that's where they are. And every day that they look at a black person, we remind them of the true history of this country. And that's what they can't stand. That's why they can't stand us. Y'all have a good day.
Appreciate you. 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. And I think that there is this two things. There's the financial piece here, the material piece that's important. I also think that there's a cosmic thing going on where human beings, like black folks, probably have some folks that they look down on or they have some hatred for. Now, people will argue that the reason why black folks can't be racist because when they look at it in terms of racism, they're saying we're not in any power to be able to do anything based on the construct of race. We can have prejudices, we can have hatred, but it's not the same as racism. I don't know that one was always because the whole power piece of it. But look, people go after others. And we'll pick that up on the other side. You're listening to Community Voice. The phone lines are open, 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. Quick break. We'll be right back.
You're inside Community Voice on WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM with your host, Keith Parris.
I'm going to say something crazy and something real. Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning to you, Doc.
Good morning.
Hello?
Good morning,
Yeah.
brother.
Hey, listen, I was listening to the brother that just called in,
Yes, sir, brother.
and he said the question was answered in the 80s. Why white folk just hate black folk.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm going to tell you, white folk hate and mad at black folk for wanting to be free. And black folk is mad at white folk for not letting them want to be free. Now, what happened was they stumbled up on something. They discovered something, though, that is something else with this black man, that his genes is dominant and more powerful than all the genes throughout the world.
That's not true.
Huh?
That's not true.
It's not true that his genes is not dominant?
No, it's not true.
Okay, well, tell me why it's not true, sir. Then I'll make my point. But you definitely wanna box. So come on, why is the black man's genes is not the most powerful genes on the planet?
Because with the exception of taking into account environmental factors that impact on us as human beings, other than that, there's probably no difference between most human beings, if not all human beings, other than that 1% which deals with melanin. And
well, let me do this right here. To show you
the great danger in beginning to talk about superiority of people's genes.
No. It's not about superiority.
No, you just said it. You said it was dominant. That when we use terms
Okay.
like that, what happens is it gets into this whole idea of eugenics and how that there are certain people who are better physically and mentally situated than other people. That's a slippery slope you don't want to go down.
Okay, can I say this to you? We don't have to go down it. We can stay on surface and look down in it.
Oh, okay.
We ain't got to go down in it.
Down in it. Okay, well, let's look down in it. What you see when you look down in it?
I see that I can take a black man, if he's sexually active, and drop him in any region in the world. And if he's sexually active, he changes the sculpture, the bone sculpture, the nose sculpture, the lips, the texture of the hair. You understand?
That's based on environment, man.
No. You know, brother, you can bring them over here.
What I'm saying is, but when we talk about environment, we're not talking about 2 weeks. We're talking thousands of years. So the reason why when you look at our complexion is been the thousands of years we were in the sun.
Okay,
I mean,
listen,
you can explain it.
We're talking about right now, brother. See, a white man can give my sister a black baby. See, I can give his sister a black baby. He can't do nothing but give my sister a baby, a black baby. He can't give my sister a white baby.
First of all, other than complexion, though, there is no difference.
No, we're talking about the structure. We're talking about the lips, the nose.
It depends, but it really depends on where your people come from. Like those of us who have big behinds, chances are we came from the savannah. We came from the savannah, which means that women, they were nomadic people. No, I'm going to explain the biology to you. So they would store fat in their behinds because they were nomadic people. And you find that similarity across all.
So now that the white girls is coming up with booties, where they getting theirs from? Is it their diet that has changed?
It could be
or
that.
It
could be that in terms of, because you have a lot of black folks with no behinds. This idea that every black folks got a butt is wrong. If you look at people from Kenya, hold on, man. When you look at people from Kenya, They don't have the same behinds as the people who might come from the Congo, right? Because they're different regions. They have different things going on. The environment has a lot to do with how your body becomes shaped and all those things.
That is true.
It is not
Okay,
because you're white, it's where you live.
That's true.
Listen,
brother.
listen,
That's
listen.
true, Keith.
Last week, a brother called in. Me and Michelle was on the phone. He said, if I could see Meech, I want to punch him in the face.
What's that got to do with anything?
That got to do with this here. We was in a family fight. See, he don't know that me and Michelle, we worked on projects together. We
Okay,
fight
what's that got
just
to
like
do?
me and you.
What's that got to do with black genes being dominant?
Because I just wanted to inject. The man created a hate crime on the show, and I wanted to let him know that. He wanted to punch me over a political view, which makes it a hate crime. Now check this out. Hold on, watch this.
Wait, it makes
Hold
it
on,
a
check
hate
this out,
crime?
But this was, hold on. But
So
check this out.
DOJ
I'm
go
not
come
worried
to
about none of that.
DOJ go
I'm not
after
worried
him
about
for
what that
you?
dude talking about. Hey, look here, man. This is a family fight. You see me and Keith fighting right now?
Ain't nobody
Don't
fighting
get
with you.
a family fight, Negro.
Ain't nobody
Me and
fighting with
Michelle
you.
fighting.
But you
This is a family
sit up
fight.
here
You see
talking
me and
about
Debo
this
Allen?
fight. We need to get back to what we fighting about. If we could do that,
But it's still a family issue.
not what we wearing in the fight.
check this out. Listen, brother. The gene of the black man, he changed the texture of the hair, the milling
The
of the
genes
skin.
of a white man can change the texture of hair.
No, he can't.
Yes, he can.
He at the apex of the genes, brother. Yeah, hey, brother. All he can do
Explain all. Explain.
This is why Russia never. See, listen. This is why Russia and most people that stayed out of Africa knew what it would do to if the slave ever got loose and got free, how it would dilute what they call the super race.
Do you if you listening to yourself, you sound just like my guy every time they show this clip from 1964 and there's this Klansman out there and he says, with the mixing of our children, we're going to create a Mongol race of people. Don't do that, man. You're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing that white supremacists are doing.
Bro, hold on.
They're using junk science to justify white.
Well, the brother asked you the question and you gave him, so you didn't give him the answer. He came on and he said, "This is why white folk don't like black folk." So I just gave him
He gave one of the reasons why. But you came up with this pop science that has been debunked.
How has it been debunked? If I let a white girl down right now, the super race they call themselves, and go up in man, our baby gonna look black.
Not necessarily, because you fair skinned.
Yeah, no, brother, I got enough Negro in me. I got enough of that.
And that's why you need to be worried. You need to be worried about mass deportations because last time I looked at you, you did look like a Venezuelan. So I just want you to be careful.
You look like a dark-skinned Cuban.
I know. That's my point. That's my point.
They might get you. I hope you got your green.
Yeah, they're going to get me, but if they get me, I'm snitching on you. Caller, welcome to the program. I'm turning you in. You coming after me. I know this little Venezuelan dude at the beach.
Right around the corner.
Right around the corner. I'm going to take her right to your crib. Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
What's happening?
This is for Dr. D, Unique, and D. Ball. And I have a complaint to make. It's for you and Michelle, and I want to make a observation about what's this blue guy yelled at with his name is funny. But what is it? A lot of people really write out. Write out is a hell of a person to have on your show. And I've seen his development, immediate past, and a hurry. What my complaint is, you and Michelle and too many people give their last caller too much time. And he uses that old deflection and over talking and whatever. You need to give him some fast cuts. He is a brother, but he needs to be cut. He doesn't need all of that time. And I'll just leave it at that. And y'all have a good one.
All right.
Man, appreciate you, Dr. Ward. Thank you for that compliment, man. You know, I appreciate that. But
Yeah,
Keith, Michelle, man, y'all got to do better, man.
Yeah, that's Keith, I don't know if you heard Dr. Ward. So y'all giving Meach too much time.
Too much time, man. I think
you know, and
we
he's
need
using
to
the
get that
same
time.
argument all the time, man. Y'all got to make him step his game up.
Hey, Debo, I think, and you can tell me what you think. I think they need to give that
Jermaine,
time
you
that
know
they
what?
give to Meach
Let me
more
get
to
Keith
Dr.
straight right
Ward.
quick. Keith, let the two scholars in here handle this.
You saw I fell back, right?
Oh, he was for the fold his arms.
I see when grown people talking. I done went back to the kid table. Y'all call me when the grown folks finish talking. I'll come on back.
Oh, I love this dude. This dude is hilarious.
Yeah, I'm at the kid table, man. Oh man, any of y'all been at the kid table?
Oh, man. Yeah, I was just there. Meach just put me there the other day.
Man, I couldn't wait till I got to the big people's table, man.
And then once I got there, I didn't want to be there.
Right. You know, when I was in Viola in Tennessee, the kid table was in the kitchen. So, you know, they working around us. Right? It's hot in that kitchen, but that's where the kid table was. We be right in the kitchen, man. Oh man. So I don't so when I graduated to the adult table, I didn't know how to act.
Yeah, Doc.
Man, I've been on that kid table. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I'm calling about that old wanky Meach. Armadillo got more sense. At least Armadillo put his head in when a car coming, but Meach ain't got that kind of sense. All right.
Instead of
Armadillo got more sense than Meach got.
Are you from Texas?
No, I'm from Mississippi.
They got armadillos in Mississippi?
No, they did, but they ain't got no more. Tell your car, that's what Meach do. You might call Meach here, you tell your car. All right. Have a good one.
No more.
He mustn't have too much sense. He's extinct down there.
No, it's been somebody's meal. Shoot. Let me I was watching the Masters yesterday, and was it Rory McIlroy? That is but he finally got his slam yesterday. But they had, I don't know what hole this was, but the green abuts like a water hazard. I'm not a golfer, but that's an incredible golf course there. I mean, I've seen Pebble Beach, but I'd love to go see Augusta because, man, so anyway, you notice as the guy was lining up his putt, they had a shot of the water, and they had these two turtles who was sitting there. I don't know, do turtles sun? How would they get the sun with the shell? But there was two turtles you could see right there. Hey, talk about high-def television. Man, we see the two turtles there just kind of chilling on the other side. It got a little close with Justin Rose had caught him at 11, but he was already in the clubhouse, and all he needed was a birdie and then just par, and which he did. So shout out to him. This dude has been trying to get this for years. I think this is his first Masters. But man, when you look at that golf course, wow, boy, talk about money. That's money there. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, what's up? What's
happening?
up, my brother? How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right for a black man living in America. How about you?
That's what's up, man. I can't complain. One day at a time. I can't do two. Hey, but you know what? Yeah, them turtles like to do their heads. They like to do their heads in the sun. That's
Is
what
that
they
what
do.
that is?
Yeah, that's
because I
just
saw
their
two
heads.
of them. I was going, wow, okay.
Yeah, that's what they do. Hey, but you know, man, damn, you made me forget my train of thought when you said what. Hey, but man, let me call you back. I forgot my train of thought. Peace, brother.
Oh man, let me shout out the folks who went to the Bucks game yesterday. Man, you got your money's worth. It was an actual game. It went into overtime.
Yeah, man.
It went into overtime.
Them guys was up by 22.
Yeah, man, it was just kind of, and I was between the Bucks game and the Masters, and then I watched a little bit of Golden State and the Clippers. And I know we had just been talking about the Clippers in some way, really talking about when Doc Rivers, but Kawhi, man, he was a beast yesterday.
Yeah,
that
man.
dude healthy. I forgot how big he is, though. What is he, about 6'8", 6'7"?
About 6'7". I think
He's
6'7".
big, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, He got up. He's bigger than Draymond Green.
Yeah, he's bigger than Draymond. Yeah.
Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
I just want to remind the people our superior genes. Remember when COVID first came out and Meeks was coming on the radio arguing about they couldn't kill black people?
Who was the first people to kill?
Black people.
Lawrence, my guy. He was a firefighter. Lawrence.
Who's my guy? Wells.
The funeral parlor guy, he passed.
Brother Reed.
Yeah.
One of my congregants passed from it. So
Ralph Davis, who was coaching at Washington. I used to coach Ralph back in the day. Oh, Leonard Wells. Leonard was a regular on my mom's radio program at WGOB.
The black dude that used to have a pizza place that was up in the crowd for Donald Trump that died.
About the Godfather's Pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
He has relatives here. Kane.
Yeah.
So
we went to George. We went to school.
Herman Cain, wasn't it?
Herman Cain. We
went
to school with some of his relatives.
Mm-hmm. So there's superior stuff and that's what God is trying to let us all know, how much we all need each other instead of this division stuff. We got to get past that.
I think we should be concerned when they gut the Center for Disease Control, when we pull out of the World Health Organization. This is science, man, and people are, oh man, well, okay, we have a measles outbreak that they're trying to minimize, and the reason why it's such an issue is that we have not had a measles outbreak at this scale, because
stupid white dudes, Keith.
Well, okay,
stupid white dudes up in his cabinet, man.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that in terms of that, we weren't looking for that. And look, during COVID, because it just opened up the door for all kind of conspiracies with a Q, and people jumping in saying this and we wasn't going to get it. And I'm kind of going like, see, and that's the problem a lot of times with racism, because this false construct of race, we think that way, right? And so, yeah, there were people calling me here saying black people won't get it. And then who's the first people? Why did black people get it? Because black people are genetically inferior? No, it's because black people had the comorbidities, which made it difficult to fight the disease.
So.
Can I
say something about this idiot one more time? I ain't talking about me when I say that. So did you see where he's going to take all the, TPS away from this Afghanistan that they let into the country?
Yeah.
So when they first made that deal to get the troops out in Afghanistan, so who implemented it? And it didn't go exactly as planned. Joe Biden, right?
Joe Biden.
So now he got all these people over here that he want to kick out the country. What do you think is going to happen to those people when they go back over there?
Oh, they're going to get killed. Taliban's going to take them out. It won't necessarily be the Taliban.
Heartless, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's easy. It's easy just to see that is in fact that he is a racist, and there's no getting around it. He is a racist as much as you. And I understand racist is the N word for white folks. That, as the brother said, they're in denial in terms of how they feel, where their feelings come from, the impact. But I just think we need to be careful that we do not do the same thing, as Michelle says all the time. Don't become the thing that you hate, right? And so when people are using junk science to justify racial superiority, and again, I'm using that word race, I would put in parentheses, because biologically race is a construct, right? It was created for colonialism and for enslavement. That's it. That is the root of it all. And then everything else, and we get into the emotional impact of it. It is like what Hassan Jeffries says, Dr. Hassan Jeffries, he says that race is a construct, but racism is real. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. You're listening to Community Voice. Call ICU. I'm going to grab you right after the break. We'll be right back.
Listen up good now. Listen, everybody. Listen up good now.
host, Keith Parris.
All right, welcome back, caller. Welcome to the program. Good morning.
And then delay.
Shalom, family.
What's happening?
Just got a couple of comments for you. One, I think you have that effect on people when you make them lose their train of thought. Second thing was,
What we talking about?
what we talking about.
What we talking about?
Where you coming from?
Yeah.
You mentioned the Masters. I don't know if you knew it, but they have a lottery for tickets to get into that event.
Hey, Craig, is that your phone?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the phone too. He can hang up and call back if we do it again.
Hello?
Is that better?
That's a lot better. Yep.
They got him wild.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they have a lottery for tickets. But then the event, the tournament yesterday ended in a playoff. I don't know if you caught that part. You said that he was 11 under. Actually,
he
Rory
dropped-
lost 4 strokes
Did he?
in the final round.
Okay, because I started watching the game. I didn't realize it was a playoff. Okay.
Oh yeah,
With Justin
they
Rose,
finished in the playoff. On the first, one hole playoff, they went back and played 18 because Rory came down. He had a 4-stroke lead. Rose went into the clubhouse at 11 under.
Right.
And Rory lost 2 strokes in the last 3 holes. Ended up in the playoffs, and then he ended up winning on the 19th hole, or the 73rd hole, if you will.
Okay.
So it was a great tournament, man. But did you notice the crowd and the white privilege that is in play at that place?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's a legitimate lottery, but I guess that's another story for another day.
You know, it's fascinating. A couple of things about the Masters. Remember when the women were protesting the Masters?
Right.
And so TV networks, the network, I think CBS had it, they were going to be politically correct. And the Masters had so much money, said, you know what? Y'all don't have to run commercials. That showed me their power. And then when I saw coming off of COVID, you know, just how the crowd, I don't know how many people they had there yesterday, man, but those galleries were packed. Every hole. Those galleries
every
were
hole,
packed.
yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out, how do you get to that final group? Do those people walk up to the 18th hole with the final group? Can they see?
You get there early and you claim your spot, you know, and you sit there all day. Yeah, because I think similar to the U.S. Open they had here.
Right.
People come in early and they, bring in their chairs. So at the Masters, you can't bring in chairs, you can't bring in umbrellas, you can't bring really any carry-in. They expect for people to buy Master logo supplies and whatnot on the property.
Okay.
They don't allow phones in. You have to check your phones, all of that stuff. So, yeah, man, it is pretty strict in the rules that they have when you come through the gates, from what I understand. I know a couple people who've been to a couple of tournaments. They're white, of course, and they've been a couple of times. And that's where the question for me comes is, how do you continue to win the lottery? Somebody So, and one of these individuals actually is business partners with, or was business partners with, Gary Player. And so it is somebody that they know. And I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I enjoyed it though. Great tournament.
It was. I started watching Friday and then watched Saturday. Is DeChambeau? Everybody was thinking.
Yeah, he blew up,
faded.
man.
Yeah, he faded at the end. Those shots, and Rory has had a history of fading at the end. So
he almost did it here
he
too.
almost, yeah. I realized because I turned it when it was just like I think I turned at 17, and I was kind of going like, oh man, all he has to do now is a birdie, and then he just par out. That didn't happen.
Yeah, he I believe he was in like 3-4 feet and he missed the putt.
Yeah.
And then on 18, I believe he missed another putt. He hit some great shots, but he just couldn't putt late. And that's what happened with DeChambeau, went into the water twice. So he sort of lost his nerve.
Yeah, that was almost close to 10 can, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You hit
it was
water.
a good tournament.
What now? Is that Sawgrass? Which tournament has the island?
That is TPT Sawgrass.
Right. And how many people put it in the water, man? I mean, it is.
Oh yeah.
Because and then I'm learning a little bit as I watch. I'm not out there, but why you can't necessarily, depending on the whole location, why you just can't go at the stick. Because and it was funny. I'd never heard this term until a couple of years ago. How they say you have bunkers and waters that protect the hole. So now it seems like, and again, I'm not a golfer. It seems like they don't have a problem with bunkers, sand bunkers. A lot of times they can play, and there were some great shots coming out the bunkers.
Oh yeah. So at that level, sometimes your best shot or the better shot or option is to be in the bunker rather than in the rough, or as you said, to hit like that island green. If you hit the slope in the wrong place, your ball will run off into the water.
Yep.
That's what happened at in the Masters quite a few times, because you notice how low they cut the second cut and the rough off of the green, and it funnels right into the water. There's nothing to stop the ball at the Masters on most of the holes, and just the slope on it takes the balls. If you don't land it in the right location,
it's rolling.
It is a good chance it's going to feed off into the water if you don't control the spin and the trajectory of the ball as it comes into the green. So,
and I just admire these guys. Again, I'm not a golfer. I know you have a great appreciation. Some of the shots that you see as a novice, as just a casual observer, you go like, because was it the one that Rory had where he hooked it? He was under the trees and he was able to hook it out. I mean, and put it on the green. I mean, dude, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's actually called a draw. So it's turning to the left, and a fade is to the right, and it's done on demand, basically, to shape the ball, to get it to hit on that side and roll up. That's what I'm talking about, the location of your shot, where you're trying to put it. I have to realize these guys are so good that they're hitting to like a 20-foot diameter circle most of the time that they're shooting, even off the tee. They're hitting down that fairway. They don't always hit it, of course, but that's the target. A diameter of about 20 feet, and they're trying to land it in those locations to set themselves up for the second shot or the third shot, depending on, what's required on a par 5. Usually most of them can reach in two, but there are some holes that there's, for example, this course Firestone, and I believe it's Akron, Ohio. They've got a 625-yard hole. Some of these guys can reach it, but most
a par
of them
5, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So
what is it? Is it Dottie, the female commentator?
Dottie Peppers.
Yeah, she helped me so much. She was talking about a putt, and you could tell because she was a champion golfer, and she said that what, he needs to do this at 8 o'clock, like on a clock. And when she was talking about it, I could visualize, and she was right on point. She was right on point. Because, they're sitting out looking at, the slope, the speed. You got geometry going on. You got physics going on. There's a whole lot. So a lot of people don't have respect for golfers. I got mad respect for golfers.
Yeah, you think about that course, the undulation on it, so you don't really get any flat putts.
Yep.
Even on the fairways, from what I understand, none of the fairways are even flat. Everything is sloping from one side to the next. Downhill lies, uphill lies. and that's one of the difficulties they talk about with the Masters is there are no flat shots, rarely,
And I think
you saw the ball where they hit it, and then it's running down towards the creek, and they say everything, and this place called Ray's Creek is a creek that runs throughout the property. And I guess when Bobby Jones bought it some years ago, that was one of the features that they lined up all of the holes to feed everything towards that creek. Yeah, so it's a jewel, man. It is one of the courses.
That first tee kind of reminded me of the Silver Spring Country Club here, where you kind of hit it, and I think it's elevated. And then I don't know if that was the first hole where you do it, and then you see there's another ridge. I'm talking about a high ridge that people have to. It's an incredible. Like I said, we've seen Pebble Beach, which is just beautiful. People have no clue to how beautiful Pebble Beach is. It's just how it's situated. But man, I'm looking there at the Augusta. That's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, the landscape in there is amazing. And Whistling Straits is one of those courses right off the lake.
I got a chance to go to Whistling Straits. And what they did there, and that's closer to like the Scottish Links, right? The way that course is designed.
Yeah. It's more of a link style. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a great game, man. I love it. There's plenty of us that play and love to play and watch it.
I mastered Wii golf. I did Tiger Woods. When Wii golf, me and my godson, we do two things. We do Wii golf, and then we did Wii bowling. And when we first started doing Wii bowling, he was wearing me out. Oh man, he was wearing me out. And I had just retired, so and then one time he got in trouble, so he had a timeout, so he had to sit there and watch me play, right? And I was struggling. But what he didn't know was when his little butt was in school, I was down there practicing. Oh man, I was down there practicing. So he came in one day, and when he whooped me, he want to play again, right? That's how let's play again. I whooped him, and that was the last time we played.
He's down there practicing, waiting for you now.
Oh man, it was. But and then even now with the simulations, where people can go out, you can do your golf court, your golf club.
Right.
So because with I'm not getting wind. I'm not feeling the wind. I don't have the weight of the golf club, so you can get it, and it's but like I said, I admire you all, man, because
on the simulators they can simulate the ball playing into the wind, depending on what course you play or you select on the from the electronic options available. But some of them will play into the wind, with the wind, that type of thing as well. So they can give you that simulation. That simulators and the virtual golf is really it's phenomenal. You can learn to play on there, believe it or not. Okay. But I think it's a great technology. Well, and I did have one comment for you though. I'm surprised that you discount Dr. Francis Quest Wellesley's position on genetic recessive and genetic dominance.
Okay.
Have you ever read any of her studies?
No.
Well, she does. She would support what Meek said, that the black gene is genetic dominant.
In terms of what? In terms of melanin.
Well, yeah, that would be the only thing.
Right. Because there's no difference between there's no difference between human beings genetically.
And her one of her premises is that's one of the major fears that they have of us, is that we're this whole thing about being a minority in this country is what's driving a lot of what they're doing. When you start getting people of color here, and they're talking about in 2035, it's supposed to be a majority minority country. So that's one of the things, and that's been her premise for a long time, is that these, a lot of the fears or, the insecurity that they have is predicated on the genetic recessive gene. And once it gets,
but it's used as a demarcation. It's used as an identifier. Prior to the 1500s, it's where you came from, not so much what your complexion was. Based on the need to justify colonization of non-European countries and then enslavement of non-European people, then you had to come up with a demarcation. What was the demarcation? Well, what is because human beings are sensual beings, right? Is what I can see. And so then we create what is called race. Because if you look at Africa, Africa can have where you have very, very fair-skinned Africans, and you can have very, very dark Africans, right? All of it really depends on the region that you're from and thousands of years of being in that environment. Because you can go to the Pacific Island and you got folks there that look like Africans. Why? Because of exposure to the sun. You know, I mean, that has a lot to do with kind of what it is. But Europeans were able then to go in, and it's so baked into, you know, it's like I heard somebody say, well, the first thing they see in the morning when they look up is that they're black. Oh, man. You know, think about that just for a moment, that's your first thing that you see in the morning. Not a human being, not a male, not a female. You see complexion. That's just how baked in it is. And
you know, go ahead.
And that's
I was going to say, I think that's just the insecurity that a person has about the way, you know, they came into existence. No matter what your ethnicity is, right? You have to be secure in who you are. And I think that's been part of the problem with those who want to dominate. You know, I think back in the day, and we're talking, you know, 1500s, I think people had more of a structured way of maintaining their heritage, their ethnicity. You know, they tended to control who they would marry, you know, and then when that started changing, then you have this kind of thing where people, you know, become, I'll just use insecurity. It's an insecurity that I believe people have. So.
Oh yeah, and I'm not arguing that factor does not exist. It says a whole lot, but because you're building your selfhood on a construct,
right?
Which in and of itself means that maybe it's not as solid as some other things. At least when you talk about ethnicity, we can talk about culture, we can talk about language, right? I mean, those things that, and then possibly what you look like. But in Europe, most Europeans kind of look alike. They certainly have the same complexion. There might be variations of that complexion, like in England, they use term pasty, but because of lack of sun, if you go to Finland, you know, places like that where, you know, and somebody pointed out the whitest nation on the planet is Russia. Because Russia has not intermingled, certainly has not intermingled with Africans. America is real interesting because wherever the English were, the English had this very strict separation of ethnicities, right? But then the enslavement master will want to have sex with African women. And so when you begin to look at then how do we explain these folks, you know, we go back to Thomas Jefferson, you know, how do we explain this? That's part of it. But in America, there's strict separation of ethnicities. As a matter of fact, that's probably why descendants of enslaved Africans have the lowest rate of interracial relationships and marriages. You know, we think it's a lot.
Your previous caller referenced that comment you just made about the slave master hating that the slaves wanted to be free. You know, I thought that sort of addresses that whole thing. It's like what's
wrong with you?
Their property,
What's wrong with you? You know, and I do the correlation now during Passion Week and talking about, you know, Jesus coming, and you know, it up until crucifixion, you never heard that Jesus came to save the world from the sins or their sins. As a matter of fact, It was a political piece that was going on, right? Because these people were oppressed and they were looking for the Messiah, to move them from the oppression that the Romans had them under. And I know for a lot of people like that Jesus came. Well, I think that is post-crucifixion theology. Prior to that, that was aspirational. Those were people who wanted to be free, right? They wanted to be free not only from the tyranny of Rome, they wanted to be free from the tyranny of the religious leadership who was sitting there basically pillaging and plummeting their people. So, when you it's always had where human beings, that's why I say that even though it's in the Bible, I don't accept enslavement. It's never been right in my mind. Never been right. Now, some other people go, well, the Bible's I don't accept it. I just think and we should not accept enslavement. No people should be enslaved.
Well, I agree with that. I think that topic takes another couple of hours to really get into from my perspective. So I'm gonna leave that one alone, and I will bow out at that point because I have a different viewpoint on, what the scriptures tell us. So we can have that discussion another day. All right, brother.
I appreciate you. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning, Keith. This is Rick calling from Germany, brother.
What's happening, brother?
I think Francis Cress Welsing has a point about racial dominance, but I think it is in the mind, the mind of human beings where superiority occurs. I watched those whites coming home from Iraq and Afghanistan, and the stories they tell about white survival in Iraq and Afghanistan support Francis Cress Welsing's theory of racial dominance. But at the same time, applying your mind is where the real superiority takes place. I'm done, brother man.
Let me thank all the callers who've been part of the program today. Debo, thank you. Jermaine, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The good Lord willing, Creek don't rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go from this place in peace.
Father.